Imagine walking down a busy street just before lunchtime. The air is filled with the irresistible aroma of sizzling meat, freshly baked bread, and fragrant spices. A long line of hungry customers patiently waits beside a small food cart parked on the corner. At first glance, it looks like an ordinary street vendor trying to earn a living. But what if I told you that this tiny cart is the first chapter of a business empire that could one day be worth hundreds of millions of dollars? Every famous restaurant chain, every global fast food giant, and every celebrated chef started somewhere. Many began with nothing more than a simple idea, a small investment, and an unwavering determination to serve great food. The restaurant industry is one of the largest and most competitive industries in the world. It generates trillions of dollars every year and employs millions of people across every continent. Yet despite its enormous size, countless successful restaurant businesses have surprisingly humble origins. Before owning luxury dining establishments or franchising hundreds of locations, many entrepreneurs spent years standing behind a modest food cart, cooking meals with their own hands, serving customers one plate at a time. Starting with a street food cart is often one of the smartest ways to enter the food business. Unlike opening a traditional restaurant, which may require hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars in startup costs, a food cart can often be launched with only a few $1,000s. The entrepreneur doesn't need expensive dining furniture, elaborate interior decoration, or a large staff. Instead, they focus on one thing that matters most: creating delicious food that people want to buy again and again. This simple business model dramatically reduces financial risk. Lower operating costs mean lower monthly expenses, allowing new entrepreneurs to experiment with recipes, pricing, and customer preferences without risking their entire life savings. Every customer becomes valuable feedback. Every sale becomes a lesson in understanding the market. But success doesn't happen simply because someone cooks good food. Thousands of food carts appear every year, yet only a small percentage survive long enough to become profitable. Even fewer grow into restaurants, and only a handful evolve into national or international brands. The difference isn't luck alone. It's the ability to think like both a chef and an entrepreneur. Imagine someone named Daniel. He isn't wealthy. He doesn't come from a famous culinary family. He has no investors waiting to finance his dreams. What he does have is a secret family recipe, years of cooking experience, and an ambitious vision. After working long shifts in restaurant kitchens for several years, Daniel notices something interesting. Customers consistently praise his homemade sauces and unique cooking style. Instead of continuing to work for someone else forever, he begins asking himself an important question. What if I build something of my own? That single question changes everything. Daniel spends months saving every extra dollar from his paycheck. He avoids unnecessary spending, buys secondhand equipment whenever possible, and studies successful street vendors during his free time. He observes where they park, when customer traffic is highest, what menu items sell the fastest, and how quickly they serve each order. He realizes that running a food cart is much more than simply cooking meals. It's about operations, customer service, marketing, inventory management, and financial discipline. Eventually, Daniel purchases a used food cart for $8,000. It isn't glamorous. The paint is slightly faded, the equipment is old, and the workspace is tiny. But to Daniel, it represents freedom. It's his first real business asset. On opening day, reality arrives much faster than expected. The first few hours are painfully slow. Only a handful of customers stop by. Some simply look at the menu before walking away. Others choose nearby competitors instead. Daniel begins wondering if he made a terrible mistake. Every entrepreneur experiences moments like these, where excitement quickly transforms into doubt. Then something unexpected happens. One customer posts a picture of Daniel's signature sandwich on social media. Another recommends the cart to coworkers. A local office orders lunch for 20 employees. By the end of the first week, Daniel notices more familiar faces returning for another meal. Repeat customers become his greatest source of confidence. In the food business, acquiring new customers is expensive, but keeping existing customers is incredibly valuable. A satisfied customer doesn't just purchase once. They return repeatedly and often bring friends, family members, and coworkers. Over time, loyal customers become unpaid marketers, spreading positive word of mouth that no advertising campaign can easily replicate. Daniel quickly realizes that consistency is everything. Every sandwich must taste exactly like the previous one. Every ingredient must remain fresh. Every customer should receive the same friendly experience regardless of how busy the day becomes. Trust is built one meal at a time. As sales gradually increase, Daniel starts paying close attention to his numbers. Many first-time entrepreneurs focus only on revenue, but experienced business owners understand that profit tells the real story. Suppose Daniel sells a sandwich for $10. The ingredients cost $3. Packaging costs another 50 cents. Utilities, permits, transportation, and other operating expenses add approximately $2 more. That leaves about $4.50 before taxes and future business investments. At first glance, that may seem like a healthy profit. But unexpected equipment repairs, food waste, seasonal slowdowns, and inflation can quickly reduce those margins. This is why successful entrepreneurs carefully monitor every expense, no matter how small. Rather than expanding too quickly, Daniel reinvests most of his profits back into the business. He upgrades cooking equipment, improves food quality, purchases a more reliable generator, and designs a cleaner, more recognizable logo. Customers begin noticing the improvements. His brand slowly starts taking shape. Many people mistakenly believe branding only matters for billion-dollar corporations. In reality, branding begins the moment a customer sees your business for the first time. Your logo, colors, menu design, customer service, food presentation, and even the cleanliness of your cart all influence whether people remember you. Daniel chooses simple packaging featuring his business name and slogan. Soon customers begin posting photos online without being asked. Each shared image introduces his food to hundreds of potential new customers. Without spending thousands on advertising, his business gains visibility through organic social media marketing. Months pass, revenue steadily increases. The lunch rush becomes longer. Lines become larger. Daniel can no longer prepare every order by himself. For the first time, he hires an employee. This marks one of the biggest transitions in every entrepreneur's journey. Owning a business is no longer just about personal effort. It becomes about building systems that allow others to deliver the same quality and experience. Training employees, maintaining standards, managing schedules, and controlling costs become just as important as cooking great food. Daniel discovers that scaling a business introduces entirely new challenges. Hiring the wrong employee can damage customer trust. Ordering too much inventory creates waste. Ordering too little results in missed sales. Every decision carries financial consequences. Yet despite these growing pains, one thing becomes increasingly clear. His little street food cart is no longer simply a job. It's becoming a real business. And although Daniel doesn't fully realize it yet, the foundation he's building today will determine whether he remains a successful street vendor or eventually transforms his small food cart into a thriving restaurant empire. As months turn into years, Daniel's food cart becomes one of the busiest lunch spots in the city. What was once a quiet corner with only a few curious customers is now packed with people every weekday. Office workers arrive before noon to avoid the long lines. Tourists search for the famous cart after seeing glowing online reviews. Local bloggers and food influencers begin featuring Daniel's signature dishes, giving his business exposure that money simply couldn't buy. But popularity brings a new challenge. Daniel has reached the limits of what a single food cart can produce. His customers are waiting 30 to 40 minutes just to place an order. Some walk away because they can't wait that long. Others arrive only to discover that the day's best-selling menu item has already sold out. Every customer who leaves without buying represents lost revenue, and Daniel knows he can't continue growing unless he increases his capacity. This is a common turning point for many successful small businesses. Growth is exciting, but it also exposes weaknesses in the operation. The very factors that created success, limited space, handmade preparation, and one-person management, can eventually become obstacles. Daniel has two options. The first is to buy another food cart and expand slowly. The second is much riskier. Open his first restaurant. On paper, the restaurant seems like the obvious choice. A larger kitchen could produce more meals. Indoor seating would attract families and evening customers. A permanent location could strengthen the brand and increase daily sales. But the economics tell a more complicated story. Running a food cart and running a restaurant are completely different businesses. With a food cart, Daniel pays for ingredients, permits, fuel, maintenance, and a small payroll. His overhead is relatively low. A restaurant introduces entirely new expenses: monthly rent, utility bills, kitchen equipment, dining furniture, interior design, insurance, security, cleaning services, point-of-sale systems, additional employees, marketing, licenses, repairs. Suddenly, fixed costs increase dramatically. Even before serving the first customer, the restaurant must generate enough revenue each month simply to cover its operating expenses. This is why many restaurants fail within their first few years. Not because the food is bad, but because the business runs out of cash before becoming consistently profitable. Daniel understands this risk. Instead of rushing into expansion, he spends nearly a year preparing. Every evening after closing the cart, he studies restaurant finances. He learns how successful owners calculate food cost percentages, labor costs, inventory turnover, and profit margins. He meets accountants, suppliers, and experienced restaurant operators. Rather than assuming he knows everything, he becomes a student again. One lesson stands out above all others. Cash flow is more important than profit. A restaurant may appear profitable on paper, but if payroll, rent, and suppliers must be paid before customer revenue arrives, the business can still run out of money. Healthy cash flow keeps the doors open. Armed with this knowledge, Daniel continues saving. Instead of buying a luxury vehicle or celebrating his growing income, he reinvests almost every dollar into the business. After 3 years of operating his food cart, he finally has enough savings to lease a small restaurant. It's far from perfect. The dining room seats only 30 people. The kitchen is modest. The building needs renovations, but the location is excellent. Thousands of people walk past every day. Construction begins immediately. The walls receive fresh paint. New lighting transforms the atmosphere. A visible open kitchen allows customers to watch meals being prepared. The familiar logo from Daniel's food cart now appears above the entrance, creating instant recognition among loyal customers. Opening day arrives. Unlike the quiet launch of the food cart years earlier, this time there's excitement throughout the neighborhood. Customers who supported Daniel from the beginning proudly bring their friends and families. Local media covers the opening. Social media buzz spreads rapidly. The restaurant is full. For the first time, Daniel watches dozens of customers eating inside a business that exists because of years of persistence. Yet behind the scenes, new problems emerge almost immediately. Cooking for hundreds of customers inside a restaurant is very different from serving food through a small cart. Orders arrive simultaneously. Tables must be cleaned quickly. Inventory must be monitored daily. Employees require scheduling. Equipment occasionally breaks. Food deliveries sometimes arrive late. One mistake can affect dozens of customers instead of just one. Daniel quickly realizes that he can no longer do everything himself. He must trust other people. Hiring becomes one of the most important investments in the business. Rather than searching only for experienced cooks, Daniel looks for people with positive attitudes and a willingness to learn. Technical skills can be taught. Character is much harder to develop. Every new employee receives detailed training. Recipes are carefully documented. Ingredient measurements become standardized. Cooking times are written down. Cleaning procedures are organized. Customer service expectations are clearly explained. These systems may seem boring compared to creating delicious food, but they are exactly what allows businesses to scale successfully. Imagine visiting your favorite restaurant in 2 different cities. You expect the meal to taste almost identical. That consistency doesn't happen by accident. It happens because every process is documented and repeatable. Daniel understands that if every employee prepares food differently, customers will lose trust in the brand. Consistency becomes the company's competitive advantage. As the restaurant gains momentum, Daniel also learns another valuable business lesson. Not every menu item deserves to stay. Some dishes receive compliments but generate very little profit. Others require expensive ingredients that frequently go to waste. A few popular meals take too long to prepare during busy hours, slowing down the entire kitchen. Instead of keeping every item, Daniel analyzes sales data. He discovers that only 20% of the menu generates nearly 80% of total revenue. This is an example of the Pareto principle, often called the 80-20th rule. By simplifying the menu, the kitchen becomes faster. Food waste decreases. Inventory becomes easier to manage. Customers receive meals more quickly. Profit margins improve. Sometimes, offering fewer choices actually creates a better business. Revenue continues climbing. Soon, the restaurant is serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Corporate catering requests begin arriving. Food delivery platforms introduce an entirely new stream of income. Customers who once had to stand outside in line can now enjoy Daniel's meals from their homes or offices. Technology becomes another powerful growth tool. Digital ordering reduces mistakes. Customer data reveals purchasing habits. Online reviews provide immediate feedback. Loyalty programs encourage repeat visits. Daniel is no longer simply selling meals. He's building relationships with thousands of customers. As the years pass, the restaurant develops a strong reputation for quality, consistency, and excellent service. Banks that once ignored Daniel now offer business loans. Investors begin expressing interest. Landlords contact him about opening additional locations. For the first time, expanding into multiple restaurants becomes a realistic possibility. Daniel reflects on the incredible journey so far. Just a few years earlier, he stood alone behind a small food cart, wondering whether anyone would buy his food. Now he owns a profitable restaurant with dozens of employees and a growing customer base. But he also understands something many entrepreneurs never realize. Owning one successful restaurant doesn't automatically mean you can build a restaurant empire. Opening 10 restaurants is not simply repeating the same process 10 times. Every new location multiplies complexity. More employees, more suppliers, more inventory, more quality control, more financial risk. The next phase of Daniel's journey won't just test his ability to cook, it will test his ability to become a true business leader. Because building a successful restaurant is impressive, but building a restaurant empire requires an entirely different mindset. Daniel had accomplished what many entrepreneurs only dream about. His first restaurant was profitable, customers loved the brand, and the business had earned a reputation for quality and consistency. But Daniel knew that owning one successful restaurant didn't make him an empire builder. True success would depend on whether his business could thrive without him standing in the kitchen every single day. This is where many restaurant owners struggle. A small business often depends on the founder's personal skills. The owner cooks, manages employees, handles customer complaints, orders inventory, and even cleans the kitchen after closing. But an empire cannot depend on one person. It requires systems that allow hundreds of employees to deliver the same experience every day. Daniel's first priority was to remove himself from daily operations. He hired an experienced restaurant manager to oversee customer service, employee scheduling, and financial reporting. He promoted his most reliable chef to supervise the kitchen and train new cooks. Every recipe was documented in detail. Every cooking process was standardized, and every employee followed the same operating procedures. The goal was simple. Whether customers visited on Monday morning or Saturday night, whether Daniel was present or traveling across the country, every meal should taste exactly the same. Consistency became the company's greatest competitive advantage. With operations running smoothly, Daniel turned his attention to expansion. Instead of opening multiple restaurants at once, he carefully analyzed different neighborhoods. He studied population density, average household income, nearby office buildings, parking availability, and customer demographics. He understood that location could determine whether a restaurant succeeded or failed. The first new location opened on the opposite side of the city. The second opened near a busy shopping district. The third was built close to a university campus, attracting thousands of students looking for affordable, high-quality meals. Each new restaurant served slightly different customer groups, but the core brand remained unchanged. The logo stayed the same. The signature menu remained recognizable. The customer experience remained consistent. People knew exactly what to expect. As the company expanded, buying power increased dramatically. When Daniel owned only a single food cart, he purchased ingredients in small quantities and paid retail or near retail prices. But now, with several restaurants ordering food every week, suppliers competed for his business. Buying in bulk reduced costs. Fresh vegetables became cheaper. Cooking oil cost less per gallon. Packaging prices dropped. Meat suppliers offered long-term contracts with better rates. Even small savings made an enormous difference. Imagine saving just 50 cents on every meal while selling 1 million meals each year. That's an additional $500,000 in annual profit without raising prices or attracting a single new customer. This is known as economies of scale. As businesses grow larger, the average cost of producing each product often decreases, allowing companies to become more efficient and more profitable. But expansion also introduced new risks. Managing one restaurant was relatively simple. Managing 5 restaurants required stronger communication. managing 20 restaurants demanded an entirely different level of leadership. Daniel invested heavily in technology. Every restaurant connected to a centralized management system. Sales reports updated in real time. Inventory levels were monitored automatically. Employee schedules could be adjusted remotely. Customer feedback from every location appeared on a single dashboard. Instead of making decisions based on instinct, Daniel now relied on data. Data revealed which menu items sold best. It identified slow business hours. It tracked food waste. It highlighted customer satisfaction scores. Every number told a story. The restaurant business had evolved from cooking food into managing information. At the same time, Daniel never forgot what had made his business successful in the first place. The customer always came first. Whenever someone complained about an order, the company responded immediately. Mistakes were corrected without arguments. Refunds were processed quickly. Employees were trained to solve problems instead of creating excuses. Daniel understood that every unhappy customer represented more than one lost sale. Negative experiences spread just as quickly as positive ones, especially in the age of social media. Protecting the company's reputation became one of its most valuable investments. Several years later, Daniel faced another important decision. Should he continue owning every restaurant himself? Or should he franchise the brand? Franchising allows independent business owners to operate restaurants using an established brand, menu, and business system. Instead of investing millions to build every location, Daniel could license his brand to entrepreneurs who would pay franchise fees and ongoing royalties. This strategy dramatically accelerated growth. Within a few years, restaurants carrying Daniel's brand began opening in neighboring cities, then neighboring states. Eventually, the company expanded internationally. Customers who had never visited Daniel's original food cart could now enjoy the same meals thousands of miles away. The business had transformed into something far greater than one entrepreneur's dream. It had become an internationally recognized brand. Financially, the transformation was extraordinary. The original food cart generated enough income to support one person. The first restaurant supported dozens of employees. The expanding company created hundreds of jobs. Franchise partners built their own businesses using Daniel's proven system. Suppliers, delivery companies, farmers, construction workers, designers, marketers, and technology providers all benefited from the company's continued growth. This is one of the remarkable aspects of entrepreneurship. Successful businesses don't simply create wealth for their founders. They create opportunities for entire communities. Looking back, Daniel realized that the most important lessons had nothing to do with cooking. The journey had been about discipline, patience, financial management, leadership, continuous learning, and perhaps most importantly, understanding that every successful empire begins with solving a simple problem for customers. His first goal was never to build hundreds of restaurants. His first goal was simply to serve one excellent meal. Then another. Then another. Small improvements, repeated consistently over many years, created extraordinary results. The story of Daniel's restaurant empire illustrates a principle found in nearly every successful business. People often admire the finished product while overlooking the years of invisible work behind it. They see the crowded restaurants, but not the lonely mornings when no customers arrived. They see the successful brand, but not the countless mistakes, sleepless nights, financial risks, and difficult decisions that made success possible. Every global restaurant chain, whether famous for burgers, pizza, coffee, or fried chicken, began with a single location. Every billionaire restaurateur once served their very first customer. Every business empire started as a small idea. And perhaps the most inspiring lesson of all is this: great businesses are rarely built overnight. They are built one customer at a time, one improvement at a time, one smart decision at a time. Because today's humble street food cart could become tomorrow's restaurant empire. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this business story and want to learn how ordinary ideas become extraordinary companies, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next deep dive into the economics behind the world's most fascinating businesses. Until next time, thanks for watching.